All right, guys, back with you here on Wednesday the 26th, and well, it's kind of close on some of the the other choices, but I'm going to stick with the U.S. dollar pairs for the same reasons I gave you in the last video we did on ETH to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin now again pushing the highs, right? So here we can look at it here. This is NEO to the dollar. This happens to be on Bitfinex. So we're starting to see, signs of life here. So if I go, there's an 8-hour, we go to a 4-hour, we're starting to see some signs of life here. So good signs. So then we go to NEO to Bitcoin. Let's go over here, and does that look particularly? Well, let's go down to a 2-hour, right, straight down, because Bitcoin is now pumping again. So there's just nothing here yet. I know, right? We want to trade alts to get more Bitcoin, but I mean, look at NEO to the dollar. This thinking that there's no value in alts unless they're traded against Bitcoin. Well, this is NEO at essentially $200, right? This is NEO at $18. Really? So if I can buy it down here at $30 and sell it at $200, well, that doesn't really count. I can't spend that money because it's not valued in Bitcoin. I just really struggle with that thinking. It just seems silly. But all that said, right, I don't want to digress too far here. So let's go back here. I'm a NEO to the dollar. And nothing fancy here. I'm just wicking off these lows as potential resistance. Now partly to make the point that we got plenty. So you put it in perspective, right? Well, $200. Lots of upside here. So from this view of it, certainly look like, oh, maybe we're just getting started with a one wave. Knowing, well, let's just use here's the last dominant pivot to our low, right? We're just bumping into the 38. These will be significant as we come up, right? This will be, my point being, there's lots of upside here if we're going to get a real alt season, whether it's spread to Bitcoin or the dollar. So let's go down, let's go to a 2-hour here and take a look at this, because this is looking pretty interesting. Now, it's a little bit tricky on the count, but there's some great market geometry here to show you. Let's go back to a 4 here. I think we can get it. Let me open this up. Okay, so one thing I noticed here with this was a little bit easier to spot. So I went to, get it here, I went to log scale. I think that just pops up some of this. Note here, it's very hard to spot, but this is actually the absolute low here. This little pivot here is just slightly higher. So we can look here and, we can call that a double bottom. But at this point, it does look like you've got to work this as a diagonal. So this looks like a solid 1, decent 2. Now we can't go 3 here because it's a 3-wave structure. So of all of the alternates here, I think initially we got to start with this, right? We're heading towards 5 for a couple of reasons. One was potentially would be our one wave, so we could have a leading diagonal. We do have good. I didn't want to do that. Get down here. Okay. All right. So I do have good wave relationship in that 3 is longer than 1, 5 is longer than 3. So we have an expanding diagonal. So we could look at it like this. So we could think of it this way and this way. So we have just the right conditions here. And so if you look, length of the 1 projected from the 2. So we're just shy of the 1618. The length of the 1, so a good target here, but then we take the length of the 3rd projected from the proposed 4, and we're through. So you can see, right, we have this, just what you're looking for in a leading diagonal here. We want to see that wave relationship stay consistent. So I might even do it this way, anticipating if we're going to come back down, that's a potential area for a retest. So I think we can lean into this as a 1. All right, pretty much what you'd hope to find. Now, with this noted here, all right, so we have lots of nice juicy pivots here to work with some median lines. So if I get right on that pivot, get right here, and I believe this is the lower low right here. So there's your classic, here, let me show you this, because I got to show it to you every time here so you guys hopefully we're past the point where you need to check these, right? So here's just absolutely perfect. We come right down to the golden zone. So is that the front run? Likely that's your front run on the target. Comes back down. Now we do it. Let me pull back out here a little bit. Now we do it again. So we go length of the 1. Right now we're a little sloppy here on the 2. Right now it doesn't affect our Elliott count, but a little sloppy from the algo side. This is hard to explain. Looks like they stayed with it for reasons I couldn't tell you, but let's, right, no question what happened there. Second, right now, but note what we're doing here. So the point I was trying to make really was that we had a corner pocket. So not golden because we break by a few ticks. We break the golden zone, but we still get our 80%, right? The 80% isn't contingent on holding the 618. That's our favorite trade. We can get the golden corner, but that 80%, right, which is really what this is always about. As long as this pivot holds, I've got 80% probability of making the median line, right? Bang, 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 3 times, right? So pretty remarkable there. So so when you're drawing it, when you're over here, you're thinking, oh, it starts to go up. Oh, that won't come into play. That won't be a factor anymore. Right back to it. So I think the idea here that that's a 1 wave is pretty solid. So we can, let's take that down a degree. Let's go to sub, and then we'll go to put this in context. So from the low, that looks like a pretty reasonable 1. We got to put these up here somewhere. So let's go. We can go to minuet, put them in white so they pop out a little bit. Now, I sure would keep this set of median lines on somewhere or someplace where you can revisit them. I'm going to take them off here just to break into this count a little bit more. So as we look at this, I guess we can lose this now. Now we don't know for sure that pivot is in, but it certainly looks like we've got a candidate here. Now I am on a 4-hour, so we're starting to drop a little bit. So this is just pretty much right by the book, guys, just from low to high, right? Assuming, right? So assumption here that this is our high. So we've got a candidate here. So we've got the good geometry. Then additionally, if you check in a diagonal, length of the 1 through the 3 projected from the 4, well, we're in a little bit of no man's land. We caught this rather nicely, so that makes me kind of check. Well, we looked at the other one, was already at the 1618, so may not be our pivot here because we're not. Now we are coming right back into all of this prior, right? So you can just look over on the volume profile as to what might be causing us to pause up here. So as we come into that prior market acceptance here, a little resistance. It doesn't look like it's technical tied to any, this is the last one, and we drew this just a minute ago. So this is our last one before we head down. So here's the 50 up above. So we may not be done here. See if this is really a secondary pivot. It's not dominant, but that would be worth checking here. So that's one to watch here. So we've got our little dash line. Well, here, let me do that again. So note here, all right? So if I go swing high to low here, look where I've got a pivot right at that 50. So if this is going to get some more legs here, and we've got a little more oomph in this, and that 5 is going to extend, that's a very reasonable place to be looking for, either as a profit target or as some resistance where you anticipate. That lines up rather nicely. So we get that lining up there, but we're not there yet. So right now, you'd pretty much be anticipating that really we're just waiting for some signs of a sell-off here. So let's get this back up. We can see it. So can we get something to come down in a 3 for us, right? Can we get that and set that up? So dropping this here at the 50. We've got a little structure here, right? Nothing fancy, but we can kind of, well, you could do it a couple of ways, right? So we can kind of draw this across here, where we've got prior resistance here potentially now plays for us as support. So coming into this as the 2 around this range, note we've got a little divot over here in the volume profile where we don't have that good market acceptance. So coming down here looks like a great looking setup. So you could, let's see, I might do it this way. Again, we don't know that that's our pivot, but I'd look this way. So connecting the 3 and the 5 and the 4, if that's going to stay, if this is going to stay, for this to stay, we're going to need to be fairly close to a top here. We're going to have to rethink the whole thing. It'll probably another way we can count it, but right now we just kind of wait and see if that's a good 5. Maybe we're just getting started here, so I can go down to the 1. 1 hour here. Oh man. Just out of curiosity here, let's just do a quick check here. If this is going to be a 1 and that's a 2. 1, 2, yeah, you've got an impulse there. So this at this degree, you could do it this way. So you could have 1, 2. We're looking for the 3, 4, and 5. Now let's get that. So that actually, so if this is going to have more kick in it, and we're not done with the 5, we can put this up here because the subdivision here is not bad. All right, so looking, do I have? It looks like it's going to be too steep. Maybe too steep. So I'm just using the lower pivot because I can see that's going to be on the edge, but that might be worth putting here, looking for, so we're up at the upper parallel here. Am I spot on that? Yeah, let's get that right on it. There we go. Okay, so this is the 1, 2, 5, the edge of it here, so potentially a sliding parallel. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we've got an impulse in the third here, starting to come down a little bit. So this is a good candidate here. So we may well not be done here. So let's wick off the 1 here. Kind of lines up with this prior structure. So 1, so you'd have to have a 1, 2. You've got the 3 there. Here's your big on the Elliott oscillator. So here's your 3, 4, 5 of the third. So now from here, let's get this off of here. Okay, so coming down 2 to the 3 right now, no reason to assume this impulse isn't going to be realized. So we've got the center line of the larger channel, and we've got the lower parallel down here. So if we're going to give us a 3, which it's hard to call it, and still it starts to come down, that sets up pretty nicely. So that would give us a higher target here. So let's see how that would play if we put the whole thing together. So back to a 4. That's quite a kick in the 5, but we might also look for in a diagonal 1 through the 3 projection 4. Where's the 2, 6? Well, that's not bad. So look here. So here's the 1, 6, 1, 8. We get our algo target. Now again, I don't have this, so I'm just kind of guesstimating here that we go 4 to the 5. But I've got a reasonable target here. This would. We wouldn't be invalidated. We wouldn't need to relabel here. I think we'd still have a good candidate for a 1, 2. So then we'd be looking for the entire thing coming back down. So this would need to get redrawn here. So if we come down here and get the 4, lays up pretty nicely. So we can see if we start to retrace, we got all this market acceptance, again, as I was just talking about. So we've got all of this that just pull it over, and you can see what's causing that. So if we're going to come down and test the edge of that, that's not a bad. So if we come down here into this range for the 4 to the 5 up here, I still like this as the 1, and then we're looking for the whole thing to retrace. Ideally, we'd come 50%. So just hypothetically from the low here, if this is going to be our pivot, then here's our 2 down here, right at that structure. So we're back to, look how conveniently that sets up. All right, so these things have a way of just working out this way. So we got to watch the 1 here relative to this 4, but it looks to me like this is still kicking. There's plenty more here, and then note here where we had wicked off this low, where we have our algo target now. And so there's lots of potential pivots here and targets that are relatively close by. So we can't get too far ahead of ourselves here, but this right now, per the count in the subdivision, if we start to peel back a little bit, this would definitely be an area to be looking right here at the 38. Again, note that little divot on the volume profile. So definitely one to be watching here. So what I would do is I'd set an alert. Oh, shit. Where's my alert? There we go. I'd put an alert on that just as it comes down so I don't have to babysit it. Just let me know if we're approaching the 38. Just shoot me a text. Let me know. I may want to jump on it. So that's how I would approach this, but this all looks very, very promising. All right, there we go, guys. All right, I'm trying to do one more. Okay, back to you in a